So what if the very foundations of our economy, I'm talking about jobs, money, value itself, are about to just dissolve and then reform into something totally new? Today we're going to dive into a pretty radical vision of our economic future, one that's being completely reshaped by AI, where pretty much everything we thought was solid is about to become liquid.
Okay, let's get right into it. This entire massive idea really hinges on one powerful phrase. The future is liquid. So forget all the rigid, predictable structures of the past. We are entering an era that's all about flow, adaptability, and constant change.
And this right here is the engine that's driving all that change. As systems become more decentralized, less controlled by big central players like corporations or governments, they just naturally become more liquid. It means that power and value can flow way more freely, kind of like water finding brand new paths after a dam breaks.
So let's kick things off by really unpacking what this liquid future is actually supposed to look like. For centuries, you could say our economy was built like a skyscraper. It was hierarchical, it was solid, with really clear roles and career paths. Well, the liquid economy, it's more like an ocean. It's this giant ecosystem of interconnected networks, where individuals, supercharged by AI, can create and exchange value in ways that were just impossible before.
But look, this shift isn't just some abstract theory. It's happening right now, because that old, solid world is already starting to crack under the pressure of all this new technology. Let's take a look at the two major fractures that are driving this change. The first crack is the one we all feel, the job market. AI is automating so many tasks that used to define entire careers. The demand for human labor in those traditional roles, it's going down. And that's forcing all of us to completely rethink what a job or a career even is. That 40-year career at one company, that's basically a museum piece from the solid past.
And the second crack? It's in our financial system. Value just isn't tied to physical things like gold anymore. I mean, from the stock market all the way to meme coins, we can see that value is now driven by belief, by community, by pure speculation. It's actually a perfect example of how our idea of money is already getting way more abstract and a whole lot more liquid.
This really puts the two worlds in sharp contrast. The solid economy was centralized, it was hierarchical, and it was predictable. The liquid economy, on the other hand, is all about decentralization, networks, and being adaptive. It's a fundamental move from rigid careers to fluid projects, and from these huge top-down corporations to really nimble individuals.
So if the old system is breaking, what's going to replace it? Let's explore the mechanics of how this new liquid economy might actually work.
So meet the main character of this new economy, the solopreneur. And this is not just a freelancer. We're talking about one person supercharged by AI agents who can achieve the same output that used to take a whole company to do. They are the ultimate decentralized economic unit, able to move with complete liquidity.
And this isn't just science fiction. Check out this quote from the author of the source material, Beata Mosór. By leveraging AI, she achieved this insane level of hyperproductivity, earning a top-tier income while only working for a fraction of the year. This is a real-world example of the kind of economic power that's being unlocked for individuals right now.
This whole economic shift is perfectly mirrored in the evolution of money itself. We started by just bartering physical goods, right? Then we moved to precious metals like gold, and then to government-issued fiat currency, which isn't backed by anything physical at all. With every step, value becomes more abstract, which allows it to flow with even greater liquidity. So what's the next logical step in a totally decentralized world? What happens if the value backing a currency isn't a government anymore, but an individual? Your reputation, your skills, your identity? This is the point where decentralization could fundamentally redefine what value even is.
Now, before we go any further down this rabbit hole, it's worth taking a pause for this. A moment of humility from the source. These are really big, speculative ideas. This isn't some formal economic prediction. Think of it more as a futurist, just exploring where all these powerful trends could be taking us. It's really a prompt for thinking, not a certainty.
But to really get a grip on this liquid economy, we have to go even deeper. Because the decentralizing force of AI doesn't just change our jobs and our money, it changes our relationship with intelligence itself. The shift isn't just economic anymore, it gets philosophical. Here is the fundamental, kind of terrifying truth that's driving this entire shift. We're not just building tools anymore. We are creating a new form of intelligence that could actually surpass our own.
This isn't about a better calculator. It's about a totally different and potentially superior kind of mind.
And this forces us to ask some really uncomfortable questions. I mean, for all of human history, we've just taken it for granted that we are at the top of the intellectual pyramid. But is that still true?
And if it's not true anymore, what does that even mean for us? The intellectual gap could become so huge that a superintelligence might perceive our thoughts as slow and simple, almost like how we perceive the internal processes of a plant. How do you even begin to collaborate on equal terms with that?
The conclusion you kind of have to come to is that we might need to abandon our human-centered worldview. We could become just one node in a much larger, more complex, and decentralized ecosystem of intelligence that includes both humans and AI.
So let's bring all this way back down to a personal level. In a world that's this different, what actually holds value? What becomes your personal currency?
Think about it for a second. If AI can generate goods, services, and complex analysis almost effortlessly, the very basis of our current economy, which is scarcity of resources and labor, it starts to dissolve. Money, as we know it, might become a lot less relevant.
So, what becomes valuable in a world of abundance? Well, the source materials suggest we should look to things that are still scarce. Maybe it's our time and our attention. That's the one truly finite resource we all have. Or the unique data that we generate. Or maybe it's those quintessentially human traits that AI might never be able to replicate: true creativity, empathy, and kindness.
And that really is the ultimate question this whole idea leaves us with. As the solid world melts away and this liquid future starts to take shape, the source of value itself is going to fundamentally change. So, in a world that's defined by decentralization and flow, what will you have to offer? What will be your currency?